always find that Scotch tastes better after
I bet
the Packers
Aaron Rodgers
win.
drinks fantastic Scotch.
I'm sure all his
Best
Scotch
in the
is
world.
coming
Scotch.
off wins or losses. I'm sure his Scotch tastes pretty good. Do you expect Aaron Rodgers to be drinking good Scotch this weekend? You think the Packers bounce back against the Panthers?
I do. I know people don't want to hear it, but sometimes going out to the West Coast, playing on a different time zone, and feeling yourself a little bit with a young football team that's 7-2, sometimes you start feeling yourself and you get humbled, and the team jumps on you fast and you don't have the answers for it. I think that Mike Pettine's going to come out and do a great job in taking away McCaffrey. McCaffrey's the key to that offense. They're going to make sure they bracket him and make sure Kyle Allen, who's thrown 4 interceptions in the last 2 games, they're going to make him beat him and make sure that you can play the outside coverage. They'll bracket him and do all kind of things to confuse Kyle Allen to see if he can step up and lead this team.
They've had a pretty leaky run defense, though. You just that confident that they'll be able to just stop McCaffrey?
Well, what I'm saying is they're going to load the box. They're going to bring a safety down. They're going to bracket McCaffrey with a linebacker and a safety, and they're going to make sure that they make it a tough day for him, meaning that, when you think about the outside, Zaire Alexander's going to have the tough sledding to lock up. They're going to make sure that the defensive ends, if he swings out, they chip him. They're going to make sure that he's harassed wherever he goes.
Well, here's the thing. It's not a foregone conclusion that the Green Bay Packers are going to win this division. So to answer your question, Jenna, they better bounce back because the Minnesota Vikings are clipping on their heels. Now, I know that the Packers have the head-to-head tiebreaker, but there's still another date on the schedule with the Vikings, so we'll have to see how that all plays out. But looking at last week's game out in L.A., I can't ignore what I saw from this Packers offense. I mean, they let the pass rush from the Chargers, Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa, run roughshod over their quarterback, and you saw how limited Aaron Rodgers was in his production. He had a career-low 61 passing yards going into the fourth quarter. So the formula is out there in terms of how to beat Aaron Rodgers. First of all, you want to play keep away, try to limit his possessions. Can the Carolina Panthers do that? Absolutely, because they have one of the most productive running backs, if not the most productive running back in the NFL in CMC. So that Packers run defense is awfully leaky.
Did you just call him that?
What do you mean?
CMC, that's a new one.
No. I mean, it's going around.
Take credit for it, Canty.
It's a thing.
Run CMC. Take credit for it.
Run CMC.
Yeah,
I mean, halfway through the season, he's got over 1,200 yards, 1,200 yards from scrimmage and 13 touchdowns. So you can give him a nickname when he's balling like that. But, I mean, this Panthers team is equipped to do what it takes to be able to give the Green Bay Packers problems. They can run the ball against that suspect Green Bay front seven, and then they can get after the quarterback. And, oh, by the way, the Carolina Panthers are leading the NFL in sacks, and they're getting back their leading sack man, Mario Addison, who had to spend some time away from the team because he's dealing with a family tragedy. But this Carolina Panthers team is a sneaky good team. Green Bay better be careful.
Listen, Panthers defense, everything you said about them, I agree. And the Christian McCaffrey stuff, everybody knows how awesome he is. And he is having the type of season a running back has to have in order to be in the MVP discussion, which is record-breaking. He's on pace for 1,700 yards rushing, 700 yards receiving, and as you said, 26 total touchdowns. If he keeps that up, he will be in the MVP discussion, no matter what Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, any of the quarterbacks do. The reason I like the Packers in this game, though, is the reason that I said the Panthers are going to end up regretting moving on from Cam Newton in a year. It is a game like this where if you've got a legitimate NFL quarterback, the Packers would be in real trouble because they have to sell out against the run. McCaffrey's too good, and the run defense is too leaky, to your point, Jenna, to be able to stop him without putting 8 in the box, without putting extra attention. And that is the type of game where legitimate, not even just top tier, just above average NFL quarterbacks make their money. It's why having the run game is so valuable to a quarterback because he's going to get one-on-one looks. He's going to get single high safety. I don't think Kyle Allen can take advantage of it. If I did, I'd pick the Panthers to win this game. If I thought they had a quarterback who could take advantage of those things, they're one of the best teams in football because of everything you said. That defense is playing the way it played a couple years ago, the way they played when they went 15-1. Christian McCaffrey is having an all-time great season. My concern for them is if you make the Panthers pass, can they? And I don't think they can. Meanwhile, on Green Bay's side of things, I do think the offense will bounce back. I'm more concerned about how the defense has looked for 6 weeks than how the offense looked in just one game. That was, listen, I don't know the impact that traveling to the West Coast and playing a football game is, but every football player I've ever talked to says, man, it can be murder Whenever you look at the point spread, it accounts for it. Like, people expect every once in a while a team goes out west and just doesn't wake up. That is what I think happened to Green Bay. But your point, Canty, if they lose, though, you lose after being 7-1. You then have a bye to sit on a 2-game losing streak. The Vikings are nipping at your heels. So it is a swing game for Green Bay. I expect them to respond.
Well, the one thing I'll say, and I want to go back to the West Coast road trip. I mean, yeah, going out west is a real thing. It's something that's tangible. Players feel the effects, but players typically don't verbalize it after the loss, and that's the part about it that's a little strange coming from Aaron Rodgers, because you're talking about somebody that's the MVP and the leader of that team. So when he puts that out there, it almost feels like he's making an excuse for a poor performance. So I wonder how they're going to approach this week. Typically, when you lose a game, that's when you get all the mistakes and everything cleaned up. Everybody is hypersensitive to all of the things that led to your team losing the game. But when you come up with excuses about why your team didn't perform well, I'm not sure that you're having that same attention to detail in the meeting room. So how you handle the week after the loss typically determines how you're going to bounce back in that game. I don't like Aaron Rodgers putting the excuse out there before they even go out there on Sunday.
Well, he also put the mission statement of the week out there as well. This must be a bounce-back week. So you know the attention to detail is heightened when you have one of those losses, because it's embarrassing to sit there in that film study and get called out by your coordinator, by your position coaches. So you play a little, you practice a little harder. You have those drills, those man-to-man drills. They challenge your manhood, right? They challenge your manhood. We got McCaffrey. If we have to stop him, that's the person we got to stop. The game plan is built around that. And you go out with a sense of urgency and a focus on what the mission at hand is. And when you have so many skilled position players, and that defense has the ability to get to Kyle Allen and harass him and see if he can pick up the coverage. He's going to get a dose of complex coverage. Olsen's going to have to be his security blanket. But Pettin, I've just been in this situation with him too many times. He's going to light him up. And he's going to say, if he can beat us, then we'll lose. But we're not going to let McCaffrey beat us. We're going to harass him, and we're going to get to him early and often.
Well, besides the quarterback and maybe wide receiver with turf toe, where does the Packers where do they have such a severe advantage over the Panthers?
Listen, I think one of the advantages they have is the game's in Green Bay, and I think that's an enormous advantage, especially this time of year. Second advantage is there was a little bit of, aside from that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? Aside from the quarterback, is a big difference when it's Aaron Rodgers versus Kyle Allen.
Okay, so that quarterback sort of had an off game last week, and he had a huge advantage.
Listen, great players have bad games. Kyle Allen is 30th in the NFL in completion percentage, 24th in yards, 29th in yards per pass, and 24th in rating. So, he's had an off season.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers had
He's had an off career.
Listen, and he's still overachieving given what we expected.
Sure.
And the team's winning. But if you flip quarterbacks, the Panthers' best team in the NFL, and the Packers are drawing dead, but I don't think that trade's coming anytime soon.
All right,
I don't think it's happening. A great point about you playing in Lambeau Field. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, that offensive line protects a lot better in Lambeau. Only 5 sacks in their home games as opposed to 15 on the road.
Someone has to defend Kyle Allen.
No, they
I've
don't.
taken upon
His
myself to
family
be that
can.
person.